Howdy, howdy, howdy. I ran all those intros together trying to get this doggone thing erased before I went live, and it just didn't happen. I ran out of intros. Just about done with this. I'm going to do some ink washing today, but I want to get all the pencil cleaned up first. Good enough for government work, as they used to say. Welcome, everybody. This is Aaron Live. This is not AD 2026 because David's not joining me, so it's just straight old, good old-fashioned Aaron Live. You guys are going to be sick of me if I keep doing like streaming practically every day until this campaign closes, which is probably pretty much what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. I'm not going to do my show tomorrow. That's Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs because it's Easter Sunday. And I just think it's important that we all recognize that it's not about the Easter Bunny. It's about Jesus Christ dying on the cross for our sins, raising again 3 days later for our salvation. And we all should take note of that. And I'm not going to disrespect that day by streaming and talking about Bigfoot. But I will come back next week and do it. So anyway, we're going to do a little drawing here because this drawing I started with David on our AD show. I want to get it finished so I can throw it up on the campaign page for another piece of original art that you guys can get from me, but also in the process back the campaign for additional funding, which we're always looking for. So Corey Landis is here. Spamthropocorus is joining us. Michelle Bowers with her sword pulled out and ready for action is here. So thank you guys for joining us. I know it's Saturday afternoon and it's nice here. I don't know where it is, how it is where you're at, but it's pretty nice weather. I probably should be out like doing yard work or something, but no, I've been doing my taxes this morning, and I was just like needed a break. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ink wash this drawing, get it finished, and then, draw stream a little bit, do it live. Why not? If you're going to do it, you might as well do it live. That's what I always say. Well, I just started saying it. We'll see if I keep saying it. It's okay. So let's go. All righty. So let's see. My ink. Oh, you know what? I need my water. Let's adjust this just a tad there. There we go. Can better see what I got going on. So I did finish that. I did ink the pterosaur or pteranodon or pterodactyl or whatever the heck they're called these days. I put a little sun back there and the circle template, and I'm ready to go. I will show you guys this since you're joining me all, about 30 of you at this moment. This is page 4. This is my border for page 4 of Primal Zone. Obviously, there's nothing in the middle because I'm not going to show you that, but I thought I'd show you the border. So I did that not last night, but the night before. Because every border on every page is going to have something like this on it, kind of frame the page. And so that's what you have in store for you on page 4. The rest of the contents of page 4, you'll have to wait till the book comes out to see that. All right, here we go. I just added some additional water to my ink wash, so I'm not really sure how diluted or how black it actually is going to be, but we'll find out here in a minute. Sorry, I'm wandering around back here collecting stuff that I should have collected before going live. But the thing is, that's why it's a last second live stream, is because I'm completely unprepared, and that's just the way I roll. Ronan says they have heavy rain there. So yeah, I don't know if there's, when you first get out of school and you realize that there's no more summer break and there's no more, built-in vacations in your schedule, that's when you start to realize that every day feels exactly the same. And so to me, a nice sunny Saturday is no different than a Tuesday or a Wednesday or whatever. I still got work to do. Oops, I'll raise that up a little bit here. And that is, there's positives to being a freelancer and there's a downside to freelancer. Of course, the downside is you don't ever get any paid vacation. You don't even get any vacation, period. Unless you can somehow get ahead on your work schedule. And that's what we used to have to do back in the day. When I was working in Marvel or DC, was like, okay, we're going to go someplace for a week or do something. I have to make sure I'm far enough ahead on my schedule that I can lose those days and not get behind on my deadlines. So we did take vacations, but not like normal people. And they were oftentimes, our family vacations were oftentimes associated with a convention someplace. So at least I could write the trip off or partially write it off. So, but the good thing was I could go on all my kids' field trips. I could volunteer at kids' school and always be around when they needed me to. And that was the one benefit I got. But then, of course, I was always spend the day on a field trip, get home at 4 o'clock or whatever, and then start work until midnight. Usually how it went. But at least I had the flexibility to do it. So I'm grateful for that. So those of you who aren't regulars, which most people probably are at this point, but this is a piece of artwork featuring one of my two lead characters in Barbaric Adventures #1, which is the comic project that I currently have on Indiegogo that I'm promoting the heck out of. And so I've been doing these draw streams like this where I'm not working on a page from the book, which I don't like to show off too much of that stuff because then what's the point of buying the book if you've already seen everything? So I try to be cautious about that, but I wanted to create artwork that related to the project. So even though you're not necessarily seeing me work on a page from the project, you are seeing me work on some artwork that is related to the project. It's almost like a family reunion. So anyway, that is what I'm doing. And when I'm done with this page, or this piece of artwork featuring Celia, the female lead in my Primal Zone story in Barbaric Adventures #1. This will go up on the campaign page probably later tonight or tomorrow. And of course, all the proceeds for that will go back into the campaign to help us produce the book. So those of you who are aware of the not art auction, but the art raffle we did on Graybeard Studio on Wednesday, my draw stream on Wednesdays. We raffled off a piece of Conan art that I had to one lucky backer, and that lucky backer was number 134, who I have contacted, and so that's taken care of. Now, when we get to 400 backers, which is, I think, just less than 70 away right now from 400, we get to 400, we will raffle off another piece of artwork. So there's some incentive right there to back this campaign to get your name in on the raffle. So you can potentially win some free artwork, because free is like the bestest thing. So I'm using diluted, actually I've got some waterproof India ink, Black Cat India ink that I got at Blick's art supplies. And so that is a Blick brand. So I don't know actually who manufactured it for them, but I'm constantly looking for the ultimate ink. And it's not as important for how black the ink is when you're ink washing because you're diluting it anyway. But I'm constantly looking for a really dark ink that flows really well. And so I thought I'd try the Blicks, and it's worked pretty well. I'm not a big fan of Higgins because their stuff is too watered down. Now, it might be better for ink wash, which I'm doing right here, but for actual inking, not a big fan of the Higgins stuff. So I'm always looking for something like super black, or like Speedball has a really black ink that's pretty good that I have used on many occasions. All righty. Now I'm getting my I'm getting my flow on here, so to speak. Avenger 2 is in there. Says, I'm a semi-regular. I try to get on, but Don Lopez has somewhat irregular schedule. I do take breaks from all social media. Good for you, because it's healthy at least one day a week. Yeah, I wish I was. Every morning I get up now, I'm on. I don't want to get up. So I lay there and scroll through Instagram. And then before you know it, I've blown a complete hour just laying there in bed scrolling through Instagram. That's like such a colossal waste of time. Now, this, like many of my shows, is educational. So therefore, I think it's highly recommended that you tune into these. But, just nonsense videos. I guess they're fun for a while, but it's like I sit there and go, my gosh, I just blew another hour laying here in bed when I could have been up doing something productive. And yeah. And yes, Avengers, I know that you think you're talking to yourself, but I do check the chat a little bit as I can on these things. So you're welcome to comment as much as you like, and I will do my best to get over there and check out the comments every couple of minutes. Put a little bit of shadow on this grass just to kind of ground her a little bit better. This is what you call a vignette. It's a scene. You establish a scene with a character and maybe a little bit of background, but it's not finished. In other words, there's no background beyond this, but you have some elements here that kind of enough elements to place them in an environment and tell a little bit of a story. It's called a vignette. At least that's what I call it. And I love doing these. You see these often like in illustrated books. Frazetta did that at like a ton. When he would illustrate a book, like when he illustrated the Mars series in Doubleday books, that Doubleday books published in the 70s, these hardcover editions that had Frazetta painted covers, excuse me, but they also had black and white illustrations inside. And the illustrations on the inside of the book were spot illustrations or vignettes, not finished illustrations like you would find in Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, for example. And I love vignettes because they're easier. Talk to like David Williams about this at great length about now that Princess of Mars, which is first book of the John Carter of Mars series by Edgar Rice Burroughs, now that that's in public domain, I could theoretically publish that book with my illustrations in it. I could illustrate the book and reprint the text without any copyright issues. Although the Burroughs estate still would try to protect their copyright. That's why I've never really completely understood how this public domain stuff works. Because I've seen people that have taken stuff that's allegedly in public domain, do something with it, and still get sued by the estate that owns the license to these things, even though the particular material is in public domain. So it goes back to the old adage that a lawyer once told me, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong in a lawsuit. All that matters is who has the most money. And that is so true. So I don't know. It's something I might consider doing at some point. I don't know. but it sounds like a good idea. It'd be a lot of, I would have a ton of fun with it, but and I do way more illustrations in the book than Frazetta did in his versions. I've seen other people do like an illustrated version of some John Carter stuff, but it quite frankly wasn't, even with professional artists, I just didn't think they did a very good job on the stuff that I saw. Because a lot of illustrators rely, when I say illustrators, I don't mean comic book artists, I mean illustrators that still sort of exist in the realm of advertising. I mean, they're much farther and fewer and farther in between because of digital art now, but a lot of them rely really heavily, because they were taught this, on photo reference. And so you've got your characters don't have a real fantasy feel to them. They just look like, you know, oh, I got my neighbor to pose for this, and so my John Carter looks like my neighbor. You know, just looks like a normal dude. Doesn't have any of that sort of bigger than life sort of aspect to it. And that's for the female characters as well. And so when I see illustrated books like that, the illustrations are just kind of lacking in the dynamics that I want to see. And so I know I could bring something to the table if I were to do an illustrated version of Princess of Mars. But time and money, guys, that's what it always comes down to. You have no interest in tackling a fantasy fairy tale? I do have a fantasy epic. In fact, more sort of Lord of the Rings-ish. Well, not really Lord of the Rings. More, I don't know what you'd call it. But, you know, it has fairies, goblins, warriors. Yeah, I guess sort of Lord of the Rings-ish. And I was going to do it after Barbaric Adventures, but because of the rather, at this point, disappointing numbers that we're seeing on Barbaric Adventures, it's making me nervous about jumping out and doing the fantasy book, which would be a lot more involved than what I'm doing here, because with Barbaric Adventures, there's, you know, I have 3 people working on it. So the singular time commitment for any, or I should say the time commitment for any one singular artist is much reduced. Whereas if I'm doing a 64-page graphic novel or whatever, which this fantasy thing would be, or more, you gotta do way bigger numbers. And I'm not sure what the, for being frank, what the landscape looks like in crowdfunding going forward. It may just be the economy at the moment. It may be a number of things. It may be waning. I don't know. So I'm more likely to jump in and do, after this project, to do Wraith of God 4, since I know I have a built-in audience for that, and it would be less risky. But I do have a really pretty much developed, ready to go fantasy project that I really want to do, but we'll see. We'll see how things shape up here in the coming months, and where this project ends up, you know, when we're all said and done. Oh, there are multiple. Yes, I absolutely agree. Slam and Brandon says you would have to create a new character design even with open domain. Well, the thing with, again, yes and no. The problem is if the characters are in open, if they're in open domain, and they're described in the book, which is, in public domain, then you should be able to create images of those characters based on the descriptions that are in that book, theoretically. But see, it's the thing that everybody keeps debating about Action Comics, right? That Action Comics #1 is going to go in public domain very soon. So what does that mean for Superman? Well, I've heard people say, well, any character that appears in Action Comics #1 is open and fair game. The problem is that story may be, and the characters therein may be public domain, but like you couldn't call the comic, like if I wanted to do a Superman comic just based on what is established in Action Comics #1, which isn't a lot, but Superman's in there, and I don't know if Lois Lane's in there or not, probably not. Perry White's probably not in there. But you couldn't call the book Superman. You could call him Superman on the inside of the comic, but the comic itself could not be called Superman because that then would be a trademark violation because DC Comics owns the trademark on the title Superman. So it's really confusing about what you can actually do and what you can't. And if you were to do that, nothing is going to stop DC or Warner Brothers from suing you. Now, they may be wrong, they may lose, but if they sue you, you have to go to court and defend it. And in order to do that, you've got to have money. And if you don't have money, or enough money as they have, which you don't, none of us do, they'll just drag you out in court until you're broke, and then you'll lose the case by, just default. So, I mean, that's kind of the problem when you're dealing with this stuff is that if there is a parent company that has some interest in that character or that story, they're going to try and keep you from using it, even if it's in public domain. And that's why the Black Terror hasn't really been an issue, because there is no parent company anymore that owns that character or is defending that character's, copyright or trademark. So there's no one suing anybody that's doing the Black Terror because it's in public domain and that parent company doesn't exist anymore that created them. That's not the case with DC Comics. That's not the case with, say, Doc Savage, or there's an Edgar Rice Burroughs estate, right, that owns these characters and licenses these characters. They can still sue your butt, and if they choose to, which I'm sure they would, because I know when Dynamite was using Princess of Mars, they tried to shut them down. And I think Dynamite actually ended up winning, but cost them money in the process to defend that. So it's always like, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? If I did a John Carter book and did all the illustrations, how many copies would I actually sell? I mean, John Carter is not exactly a super popular property. Everybody knows it, popular in that standpoint, but how many people are actually going to buy it? So, because we all know that Marvel, Dark Horse, a variety of publishers have had that license, and they end up letting the license go because they weren't making any money on it. So, that, unfortunately, that's what it always comes down to, is do you have enough reader support to do something like that? Is it worth the risk of getting potentially sued for something that's really not going to make you any money? Let's see. For stuff like this, I'm just using regular, this is just 2-ply bristle. If I was watercoloring on this, which I do a lot on like watercolor sketches and things, like when we were doing more color work on graybeards, I would just, I wouldn't pull out watercolor paper. I would just go ahead and use this stuff. Now it buckles like crazy. So I wouldn't necessarily do something that I would consider like if someone commissioned me to do a full color watercolor, piece, I would use watercolor paper. I wouldn't use this. But for my purposes here, this is essentially a ink wash sketch, if you will, not a, it's going to be a finished product, but the amount of money that I would charge for this, as opposed to doing a, something that was a commission or a cover or something like that, super high, you want the highest quality possible, I would not use this paper. But it takes it okay. It's not like it, because you can see it's not really buckling, but I'm not saturating it either. So yeah. Spaceman says, love the signature. It'll press to hair. It's always moving. And then Eric P, that is awesome looking, Aaron. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I there's like a, I think I overdo it, because it's like every time I do a picture, the girl with long hair, it's constantly, they're outside. I'm using it as a design element. And that's why I do that. It's just, I always want, especially if you're doing comics, you always want your artwork to be more interesting, right? And trying to get movement any way you can, because it just inherently makes everything more dynamic and interesting looking if there's movement. Now, does that mean you should do it every freaking time that you draw somebody? Probably not, but I do. Is this more interesting for me to look at? And hopefully, your readers too are more interested to see something more dynamic and moving. Because if her hair was just laying down at her side, it's kind of like, whatever. But I also realize that if you do it every single time, then it, it's maybe not as effective, but I do it every single time, because I just think it looks better. So that's why. I mean, this is okay because it's a single illustration, but you can see what I'm saying, that if this was on, and you will see it in my story, because I think her hair is moving all the time. But you can see how, if it was, her hair was moving constantly throughout every single page, you might feel it was like overkill, but you know what I say? I say, screw it, I'm doing it. Regardless of what David Williams thinks. So I'm not really treating this ink wash like watercolor or something. It's like I'm not trying to establish a value scale. Just trying to create a little bit more volume, a little bit more weight to the character is all. I do try to follow the concept of, where my light source is coming from. And so I'm going to have like if the sun is, well, the sun's down here, but if she was getting top lit, you'd have, you'd have heavy shadows down here and then lighter as we got up into the hair, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I do try and be mindful of that stuff. But also because it's kind of a sketch and I'm not really plotting this out or thinking about it too much, just trying to put in what I think visually looks good. And it may not be 100% accurate in terms of always where the light source is and all that kind of stuff. So, which I try to be a little more mindful of that stuff if I'm, not winging it like I am here for the purpose mainly of this video. But see, you can give it a little bit more texture. The hair gets a little more weight, a little more texture. When this dries, I'll darken this up down here in these lower sections. Try to give some texture like fur on this halter top that she has in her loincloth, whatever you want to call that. So I'm doing a little bit of drawing with the ink. Like I said earlier, I finished my taxes this weekend. I'm so late. I'm getting my taxes over to my accountant, but I always delay every year because I don't want to pay my accountant because it's so freaking expensive to get your taxes done. And I'm incorporated. I'm not just a, those of you who know taxes, I'm not a Schedule C self-employed or a LLC even. I am an S corporation. And so there's just all sorts of extra crap that goes into that. And I just cannot do it myself. I used to do my taxes when I was just doing Schedule C. I don't mean to be boring here, but when I was just doing Schedule C, I could do it myself. But now that I'm a corp, I just give the numbers over to my accountant and let her deal with it. And it's expensive. And so it's like every year it's like, ugh. Even though I'm pretty sure I'll get money back this year, I don't want to pay my accountant. So I keep putting it off the last possible moment. And then of course I will. When I say I don't want to pay them, I obviously will pay them, but I like to put it off as long as possible. But I put it off long enough. But I needed a break. I need a break. So here we are. doing this instead. JP Roca says he saw some weird worlds in the wild today. I assume you're referring to the one that featured my Garbage Man story for DC Comics. There was also an early 70s weird world that was all John Carter stuff from DC Comics. So I don't know which one you're referring to, but I'm going to assume you're referring to the Garbage Man stuff. Gollum Wolf says you could say her hair has a life of its own. Yeah. That's a good question. I thought about doing it for a long time, and maybe as I get near the, I even hate to say this words, but get to near the end of my career, I might do it. There's a lot of how-to books. I know Andy Smith has one. It's done pretty well for him over the years. How-to books are, I mean, you get to draw a lot, obviously, for them, but they're still, their work. It's trying to articulate certain ideas and things in the right way that people can really follow and understand clearly. I did a how-to section in my fantasy creature book, Fantastical Creatures, how to hunt them down and draw them where they live, which was the stupidest name for that book because it completely made it seem like it was a how-to book, which it was not at all. But Watson Guptill made me do how to draw chapter in the back. And so I took one of the paintings I did for that book. They're all color illustrations, watercolor, a couple oils in there, but mostly watercolor or in some acrylic. And I broke down my process for one of the paintings. It was really, you sit there and you go, okay, how do I explain this? And how do I explain it so that it makes sense? So that, because you can't show like a video, you can watch me doing it and I could be saying, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you can see me doing it. And so you kind of go, okay, I get it. But when you're just showing a couple of still photographs or a drawing, and then trying to articulate, what you're doing and why can be a little dry, shall I say, when you're writing it. It's not as fun as creative writing. So, but I have thought about it. I also keep thinking I need to do like the definitive art of Aaron Lopresti book that kind of like discusses my whole career. And I don't know the political climate the way it is, if I would be able to get permission from all these companies, mainly Marvel and DC. I think I could probably get it from DC because I still know people, I'm still friendly with people and higher ups in some of the positions at DC. But I don't know if I could get Marvel to give me permission to use artwork that I've done for them in a book like that. So that's kind of challenging, I think, to making that happen. But I could probably still do it. I mean, it probably ended up being more of a vanity project than anything else, but I got to punch up some of the blacks, like around her eye and her lips and stuff, because they grayed out quite a bit when I erased. Keep getting told by people that they need to do, and they're right. I'm not disagreeing with them. I just have to do it. But short process videos, not live streams like this, but just short videos of me drawing something, and then if you have to, you kind of time lapse it so it doesn't take quite as long time to watch. Problem is, it's like you have to make a decision, unfortunately, about what do you want to do. Do you want to be a YouTuber, or do you want to be an artist? And I want to be an artist still. I don't really want to be a YouTuber. So I'm only willing to put so much time into the YouTubing aspect of it, creating videos, creating content, editing, shooting stuff. And if I was doing it full time, that's one thing, but I do have a background a little bit in acting and of course film school and things like that. So I mean, I do have an interest in it, but I mean, I'd have to get to a point artistically where I'm like, I've done all I can do. And I don't feel I'm even close to that. So I'm still gonna put my time and effort into drawing and creating art as opposed to creating content for YouTube or some other video platform. Although I know a lot of people, because YouTube is not very lucrative. I mean, if you've got like 1 million viewers, I suppose it probably is. But when you got like, a couple thousand or something, it's not really. So I know a lot of people I think people are still doing Patreon. That may have fallen out of favor. I have no idea. A lot of times I think about doing that. But then again, for Patreon, you're like posting videos and things like that. So let's see here. Well, there's plenty of avenues, Dale. The problem is, can you generate any income through them, or is it experiment? And you say, well, if I stick with it for 5 or 6 years, maybe it'll turn into something. Yeah. Spaceman, that's what we've been talking about earlier, was John Carter. The first novel, A Princess of Mars, is in public domain, but it is not necessarily clear sailing, because it never is in public domain stuff, because there isn't Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate that does defend their copyright and trademark. Marcus Killiger was chastising me for streaming when I'm on a show. Sorry, dude. I didn't even check to see who was doing what or anything. It's so hard to keep. There's so many people who are doing shows now. God, I can't even So I just go for it. So don't take it personal. I wasn't attempting to sabotage your stream or anything. I would never do that, at least purposely. I try to respect other people's times, but like I said, everybody's got a show now and everybody's doing stuff. There's only so many time slots. So you're inevitably going to run up against other people. So you just hope that, if you're sharing an audience, that, they don't watch you live, they'll watch you in reruns. David, look, if you're going to watch the stream, you might as well come on. I don't know why you say. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've got a Ko-Fi account or Coffee account or whatever it is, but everybody was telling me sign up for Ko-Fi, sign up for or Coffee or whatever it is. But all these people are telling me to do that. I don't see them really blowing up on there. So it makes me think, do I really want to invest the time to create another platform that I have to worry about? I mean, to me, this goes back to the same thing I was just talking about. It's like I'm more interested in being an artist and a writer right now than I am a online personality. And so I'm doing as much of the online personality stuff as I have to promote the artwork, but I don't think you can effectively do both. I mean, you guys may disagree with me, but it's like at some point you're either a content producer on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, or you're a content producer on the page, because there just isn't enough time to be really effective at both. I don't believe. I mean, I guess if you don't have a family and you don't have anything going on except your work, which is true of a lot of comic book people, or other artists, I should say, then maybe, but and I do enjoy working. Like this, I mean, I consider this work. Some people probably don't, but and part of it, I think, with me is I just have not achieved my goals, and I may never achieve my goals. But it's hard for me to walk away from something if I don't feel like I've accomplished what I intended to accomplish by doing it. And I did that with film school. I just, I got to a point where I was like, it didn't take me long to get there, quite frankly, to realize that Hollywood and the film industry was not what I imagined it would be through my rose-colored glasses. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go pursue comics. Now, of course, comics didn't turn out to be what I thought it was going to be through my rose-colored glasses either. But one thing I could do in comics that I couldn't really do in Hollywood was, you get a job. I stuck to myself pretty much. I didn't hang around with a lot of people at conventions and things like that. It was not very social within the industry. I was able to, I mean, I was as much as I needed to be, but not a fraction more than that. Because I always knew I didn't exactly fit the mold of the average comic book creator. And I don't know, I might be inherently antisocial too. I don't know. If I can constantly spend all day inside drawing and not feel like I'm missing anything, then I guess that makes me inherently antisocial because that's what I do. Well, I should call my friends up and go, or my friend, I guess I should say, up and go do something. And I'm like, yeah, but if I go and watch that movie, that's 2 hours of work I could have got done, drawing. So, and that's really how my mind works, which is, I guess, in some ways kind of pathetic. That's the hard thing about the arts, man. To be good at something, you got to commit to a level that is probably unhealthy for most people. And I still went out and got married and had a family, and so I didn't commit as wholly as a lot of people do. I tried to work both angles. I think that's shaping up pretty nicely right there. Got a little extra texturing there in the wing of the Troodon. I also think live streaming is sort of like psychotherapy, right? So you guys are like my analyst. This goes, oh, Aaron, tell me more. Slamming Brandon. Antisocial is the norm. Yeah, you might be right. Sean Allen says if you're antisocial, you would not be on a social network. I guess that's true. Yeah, translated, they hated me. They may have. I don't know. Okay, TA says Akihito Yoshitomi is a manga artist with 1 million subs. Okay, well, he's a manga artist, so that helps because there's way more manga fans than there is American comic book fans. His videos are like 30 minutes of him drawing in a sketchbook. Well, doggone it. That's what I should do is just film myself drawing in sketchbook and then post it. All right. I don't know that I'm actually going to lay any more wash into this. I do want to punch up some of the blacks here, though. Some of the line work. I'll go in here and create some line weights, as Gary would say. Gary Martin, that is, if you're. I don't necessarily think you need to, heavily outline the whole thing. Excuse my dog. I think you punch up a few areas and then that your eye sort of fills in the rest. I got here a 0.3 is what I'm using we're in 03, I don't know if that's 0.3 or whatever, to do some of this thinner stuff. I might go in and for her facial features, I think I might drop down to a 01 here, if I can find one. It's really her face is the only thing I'm all that concerned about, because that's where you're looking. All right, I'm going to go, just because it's handy, I'm going to go 005. Mickey's Madness says, looks great, Aaron. Thanks, sir. Okay, in fairness to me, David sends me a ton of videos. So it's kind of hard for me to get to all of them. Because I spend a lot of time doing this. We like to call drawing. Strengthen these lips a little bit here. Much better. David's been trying to talk me into going on Whatnot. And I did sign up for an account. I just have not done anything yet. But there does seem to be perhaps a different audience there. I mean, it's more of an original art type thing. But God, my dog's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy, I tell you. So I think that's a possibility too. I wonder if someone actually broke in our house, if our dog would actually do anything other than just bark at him while he killed us. See, we punch up those blacks, and then the face comes alive, baby. It comes alive. All right. Got this necklace. I got to put a little bit of something on there. A lot of these line work on here is pretty loose. It may not look like it, but it is. Because I want to keep it loose. I have really learned over the years that having a more rougher line quality rather than an absolutely smooth, slick, although it's impressive to look at in and of itself, it's not as vibrant. You can ink the life out of stuff by being too perfect. So it's really hard to think that way when you're laying lines down. So you get focused on the line itself. You're like, oh, I want to make this perfect. When you do, then it just takes a lot of the energy out of the drawing. So it's always a work in progress for me stylistically. But I've looked at a lot of Dan Pernosian stuff, which I really like, and it's really rough. It's inking, but it has so much energy to it. I just have really become a fan of that kind of look. And Finch too. David Finch doesn't seem like it, but his inking's kind of rough too. And I really love his stuff. I love David's line quality. David Finch. I also like our David Williams. But I really like Finch's line quality, but his black placement is what really makes his stuff, in my opinion, really sing. I don't really think I need to do much with this Pteranodon. It's in the background, so I don't really have to beef up those lines that much. I think it's pretty well articulated, especially his head. You can see his face pretty well. Well, as we sit here and contemplate whether that's actually done or not, let me take a moment, because right now, of course, we have our... Oh, brother. I know I should have said anything. Yeah, when in doubt, black it out. There you go. Okay. So as we contemplate the completeness of this drawing, let's take a look at what's going on right now on the old campaign. Looks like we got a couple more backers, and that's always the goal. I would hate to think that I'd come on here for an hour and a half, and do just this laborious work, and no one would back. But some people did, so that's good. We appreciate that very much. If you happen to be unaware of what this is, and you know what? Why don't I run the trailer? Paid good money for it. I know most of you have probably already seen it, but what the heck? Let's watch it again. It has music. That's my favorite part. How about that? Jason Brazier for 5 says, "Hi, Aaron. When you drew Red Sonja for Blackthorn, I didn't do it for Blackthorn. Did you have to do anything special for the 3D part, or was it all done in the coloring process?" I did Solomon Kane 3D. I did not ever work on a Red Sonja for Blackthorn. It was Solomon Kane, and no, I didn't have to do anything. They separated the line. They did like they took the inked work and then they made one in green or blue and then one in red, and then they print them like just off of each other a little bit so that red and green is there, but it's not lined up exactly. And then when you put the glasses on, it sort of brings them together, I guess. But no, I didn't have to do anything special. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate it. Okay, where are we at here? So this is what I'm doing is putting together kind of a homage, if you will, to Savage Tales or the Savage sort of Conan magazines from the 70s. I know they were in the 80s too, but I remember them from the 70s. Where you have 64 page. This is going to be square bound, though. It's not stapled at the spine like those old magazines. And it's going to be on a higher quality of paper as well. So it's going to feel it's going to have the heft of a graphic novel, but anyway, it's a 64 page square bound. We'll call it magazine format, 8.5 by 11. So it's larger than your regular comic book by quite a bit. Those of you who backed Kit Carter, it'll be similar to that in terms of, it may be very similar to that and how it looks because the page count's about the same too. I think I had 68 pages in Kit Carter. This is going to have 64 unless it grows a little bit, which can happen. And it's black and white. It's not full color. It's black and white because David and I and Dan are tired of getting our stuff ruined by bad coloring. No, I'm kidding, of course. All you colorists out there are wonderful. We wanted to do something that was more, the artwork was in its purest form, which is black and white. And it also, if you're going to do a Savage Tales type magazine, you got to do it in black and white because that's what inspired it, was the black and white. So it's black and white, but it's all tonal rendering like I've done. Basically, we just saw here the ink wash. David's will be, I guess he's telling me, ink wash and marker combo. And Dan is doing his in Photoshop. But they'll all have this like kind of extra level of dimension to them because of that ink wash. And I think it looks really cool. Anyway, so I'll have a story called Primal Zone, where we have a soldier of fortune who is hired to go through an interdimensional portal to locate someone who disappeared 20 years earlier through that same dimensional rift. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's sort of the elevator pitch. And he's cast into an interdimensional world of dinosaurs and cavemen. And apparently there's a few cave babes in there, which are, it's explained. It's part of the story. You'll get it all. David Williams is introducing us to a story of a young medieval knight who battles a horde of demons in a quest to become a true warrior. David may have the most emotional depth and moral depth to his story of any of us. And I'm very excited to see it all come together because he has just a brilliant idea concept for this story. And we'll be sharing some pages. He's doing layouts right now, but we'll share some pages when he gets them done on the campaign page and of course on videos in the future. Dan Lawless takes us to a futuristic Mars where a high-tech society has fallen into a savage chaos and one man leads a rebellion to take out the powers that have seized control during this chaotic time. So that's going to be kind of a nice little combo of sci-fi and barbarism. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Gary Martin contributes the inside front cover art to this. He has a very, very nice pinup, which I've already seen, that will be in the inside of this book. I may do an inside back cover image as well, because it was part of me, because it's so part of the legend, if you will, of Savage Tales and Savage Swords that or even Creepy and Eerie magazine, to be the artist that got to contribute the pinup on the inside front cover. I was like, oh, do I give that to Gary? Oh, so I may do one on the back cover so that I can have one as well. There's also a short story previewing the Freya, the Ice Princess, or the Princess of the Ice Kingdom. And she's also a Yeti Slayer. So that'll be a preview story of that in this book. You have 4 cover options. Here they are. Cover A, that's painted cover by me. There is cover B, that is a painted cover by David featuring his characters. This is a digitally painted cover by Dan Double D Lawless featuring his characters. And of course, we brought in the great Joe Jesko, who did us a wonderful painted cover of Freya, the Ice Princess, Yeti Slayer. And so to see, Joe has been like a staple of cover art for, books, paperbacks, Marvel magazines for years. He's done Marvel posters. So to get him on this project as a cover artist, you guys do not want to let this slide by. I mean, it's pretty cool and unique that it was able to get him to do this. Here's some of the interior pages that I've been working on here. These are all from Primal Zone. You can see the ink wash and how it kind of juices everything up and kind of gives it a more dimensionality to it. So the whole series will look like, or the whole story will look like this. Every page has a elaborate border like this around it. Here's Dan Lawless's splash page to his story, Mars Madness. One of the options you can do when you're ordering is get the big barbaric box. And there's 2 items in that box that you can't get anywhere else. In other words, you can't add them you can't put them in your order as an add-on. You can only get them if you buy the big barbaric box. And the big barbaric box is one of everything in this campaign. Plus this portfolio, these 4 plates right here, they'll be 8.5 by 11. They're all going to be the same size as the magazine, but these are 8.5 by 11 prints signed by me in an illustrated envelope, no less. And you'll also get this 5th cover. I guess we'll call it cover E. This is a color rough. This is not the finished painting. I got to actually start working on that probably this week and start working on that painting. So you can watch it evolve right behind me as I work on that. But so you'll have this exclusive cover with the big barbaric box and that print portfolio. One of the other things you can get as an add-on is a Barbaric Adventures. You can add this on Sketchbook. You can add this on your order, any level of order. This print, Snow Hunt, featuring our Ice Princess. This is signed by me, and you can add this on at any level. Barbaric Adventures shot glass. This just simply shows you the logo that will be laser etched into the shot glass. This will be the 5th shot glass in a series of 6 that we put out through Empire Comics. So if you've been collecting the shot glasses, you don't want to miss this. Here's some original art that is still available for sale. Most of it is sold. That's why I keep putting up new pieces. And if you keep scrolling all the way to the bottom of the page, you will see where your rewards are that you can order. The 4-pack plus, which I've also pinned to the right side of the right column here to the page. This is a good deal because you get all 4 covers, which I would think you'd want. Get all 4 covers plus the sketchbook for $105. That's a $120 value, so you get $15 discount if you go that route. So it's cheaper than piecing all 4 covers to, as separate orders. Just put them all together in this, and you get a better deal. There's the shot glass. You can order cover A, that's cover C, that's cover D, and cover B out of order, unfortunately. I don't know why. You can order these just separately. If you just want to get one copy, that's fine. Choose your cover. If you want to do some combo stuff, you can get my cover with the Barbaric Sketchbook signed by me. $40, that's a $45 value. You get $5 savings there. Or you can do the my cover, the Barbaric Sketchbook signed by me, and the Snow Hunt print signed by me for $55. That's a $60 value. So again, you'll save $5 if you go that route. And then here's the big Barbaric box I was talking about earlier. $210 value for $185. You're getting, if my math is correct, you're getting $25 off on this. That basically means that extra cover you get for free. And this includes all 4 covers plus the extra cover, the really low print 5th cover that you could only get in this box, shot glass, the Snow Hunt print, the Barbaric Sketchbook, and of course that portfolio, 4-print portfolio, in an illustrated envelope that will only be available in this box. So there you go. If you keep scrolling down, you will see all of the artwork that is still for sale, and there's not many. All the purple is the only ones that are still available. But I will, like I said, I'll be putting this piece up on there as well. We'll see how long that lasts. And if you keep scrolling down, add-ons. You can add any of these things onto your existing order. You can get the sketchbook, you can get the print, you can get the shot glass, you can get Saved by the Trash sketchbook. Wraith of God 1, 2, and 3 are available here. Kit Carter, Planet Doom graphic novel, Garbage Man trade paperback, Power Cubed. Of course, Garbage Man and Power Cubed are in limited supply. And you can also add on covers or the Kit Carter sketchbook. And the reason the covers are here, or the issues with the separate covers, is because you may want 2 copies of Barbaric Adventures cover A, for example. And if you bought one as a reward, then you add on the second one here. Or if you wanted my cover and David's cover, or you wanted Joe's cover and David's cover, or Joe's cover and Dan's cover, whatever combination, that's what the add-ons are for. So there you go. That is the campaign, folks. I am super excited about this campaign. And that's why I'm streaming so much and pushing it so hard, because this is kind of I don't want to call it a dream project, but it's pretty much a bucket list type project. I never got to work on Savage Tales when I was at Marvel, and because I don't even think they were doing Savage Tales when I was there. And it was one of the magazines I read when I was a kid. And I always wanted to do a story that would, work in this book. And that's what we've done. We've thrown together our version of Savage Tales. The artwork is just going to be tremendous. The stories are really, really good as well. I think you'll really enjoy this. So if you have not backed, please consider doing so. You'll find a link in the description of this video. It'll take you right to the campaign. It's also, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you're watching on X, all you have to do is go to Indiegogo, type my name in, Aaron Lopresti, or type in Barbaric Adventures, and it'll take you right to the campaign. There's also a link on my Instagram bio page, on my profile page on X, and there's probably filtered throughout Facebook as well. So feel free to jump in there and back this campaign, because I do not think you will be sorry. In fact, I know you won't. So anyway, there you go. That is my sales pitch for today. Anyway, I think I can go ahead and sign this. I think I'm done. And that doesn't mean an hour from now I might not fool around with it a little bit, but so if you think you might be interested in acquiring this is 11 by 14. It will be up on for sale on the campaign page sometime today. So keep an eye open for that. Let me switch cameras, because I think we can get a little better lighting with the front camera. So that's kind of how it all turned out right there. So you get a little gnarly tree back there, tree root. You get the girl. You get the pterosaur, or whatever the heck it's called. So there's a lot packed into this little vignette that we've been working on for a couple of days. And of course, we ink washed it, because that's what we're doing in the book. Every story is ink washed like this or similar to this. So that's what I'm pushing. And so that's what we're going to see. So there you go. Groovy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter tomorrow. And let's not forget, it's not about the Easter Bunny. It's about Jesus Christ. So let's not forget that either. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you guys for the conversation. Sorry I couldn't be more attentive to the chat, but it's kind of hard to draw and keep an eye on what you guys are saying. But appreciate you guys. And probably... there's no show tomorrow because it's Easter, so I won't do a Sunday show tomorrow, but I think David and I will be back early Monday afternoon with another AD draw stream doing something barbaric. So thanks, guys. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.